My husband got my sister-in-law pregnant. What I did at the baby shower left everyone speechless. I remember the exact second my whole damn world collapsed. It wasn't when I saw the weird texts. It wasn't even the off, guilty looks Tracy, my sister-in-law, kept throwing at me during family dinners. Nope. It was a Tuesday. Cold, quiet. I was sitting under the blinding lights at Dr. Keene's office when she hit me with the kind of look doctors only use right before they wreck your soul. "I'm sorry, Isabel, the results are final. You've got premature ovarian failure. It's permanent." I just laid there, staring up at the ceiling tiles, counting those stupid little dots, while everything blurred. 3 whole years of hoping, of tracking ovulation, stabbing myself with fertility meds, peeing on tests just to get nothing but heartbreak in return. And now this. "There are other options," Dr. Keene said softly. "Donor eggs, adoption." But I didn't hear any of that. All I could think was, how the hell do I tell Dustin, the guy I'd been married to for 7 years? The same Dustin who whispered about baby names on our 3rd date. The guy whose entire family was obsessed with bloodlines, legacy, and keeping the damn family tree pure. I drove home like a ghost, rehearsing my lines in silence, trying to find the words to tell him I couldn't give him the one thing he wanted most. I even grabbed a bottle of his favorite whiskey, figured we'd both need something strong. But the second I opened the front door, I knew something was off. Voices. From our bedroom. Dustin was home early, which never happened, and he wasn't alone. "You're sure? Like, absolutely sure?" That was his voice. Tight, nervous. "Yeah, 10 weeks now." And that voice? Tracy, my husband's brother's wife. The woman I used to call my sister. The woman who'd been in my life for 10 freaking years. I froze, still holding that bottle like it was a damn weapon. Something deep inside me already knew, but my brain, it was scrambling, begging for any other explanation. "My brother can never find out. No one can," Dustin whispered. "What are we gonna do?" I heard her sniffle. "I'm keeping it, Dustin. I've wanted this for so long, and Mike, he hasn't even touched me in forever." "He'll believe it's his. He wants to believe it," Tracy said, her voice low, like she wasn't admitting to nuclear-level betrayal. "And what am I supposed to do? Just pretend that's not my kid? Watch my brother raise my baby?" Those were Dustin's words. My husband. And they landed like a punch to the gut, so hard it knocked the breath out of me. I must have made a sound, something between a gasp and a dying animal, because the voices stopped. Dead silence. I didn't wait. I walked in. The whiskey bottle slipped out of my hand, hit the hardwood, and rolled. Didn't break, but the sound it made, hollow, like it was echoing the massive hole tearing open inside my chest. They jumped apart, like guilty high schoolers caught in the act, but it was too late. Damage done. Tracy's hand immediately moved to her stomach, like she was protecting the lie growing inside her. I hadn't even noticed the bump before. Dustin's face turned white as a sheet. "Isabel," he stammered, stepping toward me. I just held up my hand. Didn't say a word. Because what the hell could I say? I finally found my voice, and it came out flat, numb. "I found out today I can't have kids." I let that hang there. "So, great timing, huh?" Their faces. God, their faces. Shock. Guilt. And this is the part that made my blood boil. Relief. Like they were glad it was finally out. Like they'd been waiting for me to uncover their filthy little secret, so they wouldn't have to hide anymore. Then Tracy started crying. Not a single tear of real remorse. No, this was full-on drama class. Loud, ugly sobbing. It just happened, Isabel. We didn't mean for this. I repeated it, deadpan. It just happened? Oh, so what? Did you trip and land on my husband's dick? Repeatedly? Dustin moved toward me again, hand out like I was going to melt into his arms. Please, baby, let me... Don't call me that, I cut in, voice razor sharp. Don't you ever call me that again. And then everything stopped. Still. Like even the air was afraid to move. I remember the afternoon light coming through our bedroom curtains, the ones I picked when we moved in, imagining the kids we'd raise here, the family I thought we'd build, the one I couldn't give him, and the one he went and created with someone else. The family he was supposed to build with me, he built with someone else. How long? I asked, my voice a whisper sharpened to a blade. They exchanged this look, brief, but loaded. And that single glance, it crushed me more than anything they'd said so far. Because it wasn't just about sex. It was secrets, intimacy, connection. Betrayal so thick I could choke on it. 8 months, Dustin finally said. But it wasn't serious. That made me laugh. Not a normal laugh. A broken, bitter, unhinged sound that even I flinched.
Not serious? She's pregnant with your kid. Our niece or nephew is actually your daughter or son. That sounds pretty damn serious to me. Tracy stepped forward, like she thought I needed her comfort. Isabel, we never meant to hurt you. And that was it. Something snapped. But not the kind of snap people talk about. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. Instead, I froze, like ice locking tight over a lake. Cold, controlled, clear. Get out of my house, I said, voice low but steady. Both of you. They tried to protest. Tears, pleas, begging. Not mine, theirs. But in the end, they left. I sank onto the floor of our bedroom. My bedroom. The place where I thought our future would grow. And I sat there, heart shattered, ribs tight with pain so massive I thought it might kill me. But underneath that pain, something darker was growing, something sharp, with teeth. Because right then and there, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. They were going to pay, both of them. I just had to wait for the perfect moment. The next few weeks were a special kind of hell. Smiling through Sunday dinners, watching Dustin squirm, refusing to make eye contact with his own brother, listening to my mother-in-law go on and on about finally becoming a grandma, clueless that it was her other son who'd knocked up her daughter-in-law. People always ask, why didn't you leave right away? Why not burn it all down? Simple. Because revenge, real revenge, needs to be served cold. And I wanted mine glacial. So I played the part. The good little sister-in-law. I nodded when Tracy complained about her pregnancy like I was her therapist. I smiled and agreed when she whined about how Dustin was so busy with work, so detached from the experience. Meanwhile, Dustin sat across the room, practically begging me with his eyes to keep the secret buried. 3 weeks after I found out, Tracy announced she was having a girl. My mother-in-law wept tears of joy. Mike, poor oblivious Mike, grinned like an idiot, rested his hand on Tracy's belly, totally convinced that baby was his. Dustin excused himself mid-celebration and locked himself in the bathroom for 20 minutes. Later that night, lying beside me in the dark, he finally broke the silence. I don't know what to do, he whispered. Thinking
I was asleep. That's my daughter, Isabel. My daughter. That's what he said. I didn't respond. I just laid there, my back to him, eyes wide open, staring into the dark like it could somehow absorb the rage bubbling inside me. I messed up, Dustin kept going, voice cracking like he was the victim in all this. The biggest mistake of my life. But how am I supposed to walk away from my own kid? It took everything in me not to whip around and scream in his face. We could have had a kid. There were options. Adoption, surrogacy, donor eggs. But no, he wanted biology. And instead of going through it with me, he chose to build a damn family with my sister-in-law. 2 days later, Tracy texted asking to meet for coffee. I said yes, not because I cared what she had to say, but because I needed to know just how far gone she really was. We met at a cafe I used to love. Now it felt like another place poisoned by their betrayal. She sat there, fidgeting with her spoon, stirring a decaf latte she wasn't even drinking. I need you to understand something, she said, eyes darting everywhere but mine. It wasn't love. Dustin and I, it was comfort. Comfort, I echoed, already disgusted. Mike was distant, cold, and Dustin, he was hurting too. I leaned back, arms crossed. Hurting over the fertility stuff? She nodded quickly. He felt like less of a man, like a failure. I just stared at her. Was she seriously trying to spin this like it was my fault? Because my body didn't work the way we wanted, she got to sleep with my husband? So what? You're saying I pushed him into your bed? No, that's not what I meant. She panicked, reaching for my hand. I yanked mine back. I just want you to know it wasn't some big love story. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I looked down at her belly. The kind you're keeping. Tears filled her eyes. I can't not keep her, Isabel. I've wanted a baby for so long. And Mike, does he deserve this circus you've built around him? She looked away. Mike and I haven't been intimate in almost a year. He knows the baby probably isn't his. He just doesn't know it's Dustin's. Another lie, another betrayal. But now I had something valuable, information. What shattered me the most in the weeks that followed wasn't even what they did. It was everyone else's silence. Dustin's parents? They sensed something was off. Hell, they probably knew, but said nothing. Family harmony, right? Our so-called friends? They gave me sad looks and useless cliches. Everything happens for a reason. You're so strong. Blah, blah, blah. And Dustin? He moved into the guest room. Didn't leave. Didn't apologize again. Just lingered, like some ghost of the life we had. And me? I'd given this family everything. I was the one who made Thanksgiving happen. Christmas, birthday dinners. I visited his dad during chemo when no one else could deal. I planned the family reunion. I held this damn family together. And they tossed me aside like I was nobody. The audacity still makes my skin crawl. We were all gathered for Sunday dinner. Fake smiles, small talk, pretending everything was fine. When Tracy looked straight at me across the table, her hand resting on that now very obvious bump, and said, Isabel, you're just so good at planning these kinds of things. Would you mind hosting the baby shower? My jaw clenched so hard I thought I'd crack a molar. In your house, she added, with that sugary smile. Yours is so much bigger than ours. And then came the worst part. Everyone nodded, like it was the most logical idea in the world. Even Dustin, that spineless coward, mumbled something like, yeah, that'd be a nice gesture. A nice gesture?
Hosting a celebration for the child my husband created with another woman? In the home where I'd once imagined rocking our baby to sleep? I smiled. I nodded. I agreed. And that was the exact moment I knew. They were going to pay. "Oh, I'll need about a month to put it together," I said sweetly, reaching for my planner like this was just another harmless get-together. "Let's do April 12th. Gives me time to make it really special." Tracy actually clapped like a damn toddler. "You're the best, Isabel. I knew I could count on you." Yeah, of course they could count on me. To be the reliable one, the composed one, the one who never made a scene, no matter how deep the knife went. But not anymore. They thought they broke me, but all they did was light a fire. They needed to learn exactly who they were dealing with. Planning Tracy's baby shower became my new mission. Not because I wanted it to be beautiful, because I needed it to be strategic. Every napkin, every plate, every little welcome baby decoration, all of it, a setup for the moment everything would come crashing down. But first, I needed ammo. Evidence. Leverage. Dustin and I were barely speaking by then, living like strangers under the same roof. He tiptoed around me like I was a ticking time bomb. He had no idea I wasn't planning to explode. I was planning a controlled demolition. I didn't sneak around. I didn't hack into anything. That would have been too obvious. Instead, I played it smart. I told Dustin we should link our accounts, for family planning. Calendar syncing, reminders, all that wholesome domestic crap. He jumped at the idea. Probably thought it meant I was starting to forgive him, that we were turning a corner. What it actually meant, I had full access to his phone, his cloud, his location history, his message backups, and what I found, so much worse than I ever imagined. Tracy had said it started after the fertility stuff, like they were both just broken and found comfort. Lie. The affair had been going on for nearly 2 years, long before we even started trying for a baby, long before the first ovulation test, the first hormone shot, the first disappointment. I found hotel receipts, late-night texts that dripped with sleaze, even videos I couldn't bring myself to open, because if I did, I knew I wouldn't come back from it. But the worst part? Emails. Between Dustin and a divorce attorney. They weren't recent. They were dated 3 weeks after I got my diagnosis. 3 weeks. While I was crying in bathrooms and trying to convince myself we still had a future, he was working on a damn exit strategy, planning his way out while holding my hand in doctor's offices, smiling at me like he wasn't already halfway gone. I screenshotted every last file, downloaded and encrypted every juicy bit of evidence, uploaded it all to a private cloud folder with a password only I knew. It wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. This was war. Only I had the keys to that digital vault. Screenshots, emails, receipts, everything. Locked and loaded. Next stop, a lawyer. But not the one Dustin and I had been using for years, the friendly Family Guy type. No, I needed someone sharp, cutthroat, known for leaving ex-husbands with their boxers and a bar of soap. She asked me, straight up, "What do you want out of this, Isabel?" "Everything," I replied without flinching. "The house, half his business, and for them to never forget what they did." She nodded, not a hint of judgment in her eyes. She said, "Financially, that's doable, but emotional satisfaction, that's harder to guarantee legally." I smiled. "Leave that part to me." Then came the next piece of the plan. Mike. My brother-in-law, Tracy's husband, the poor bastard who had no idea his whole life was a lie. I invited him to lunch, Just a chill, checking in kind of thing. How you holding up? I asked, sandwich in hand, playing innocent. He smiled, but it didn't touch his eyes. You know, excited, I guess. It's what Tracy wants. But what do you want? I pressed, leaning in. He looked at me. Really looked. And for a second, I saw the pain buried beneath all that confusion. I just want her to look at me the way she used to, like I mattered. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. I get it. More than you know. I didn't drop the truth bomb that day. Wasn't the time. Instead, I planted tiny seeds. Questions about the due date. Passing mentions of traits that run in Dustin's family. Things that might just happen to show up in his daughter.
And while I played the supportive sister-in-law in public, I kept planning in private. Pink and gold decorations, Tracy's favorite, her go-to restaurant for catering, handwritten invitations to 30 women, every detail flawless. People told me I was so brave, so generous, so damn selfless. If only they knew. 2 weeks before the shower, I met with Dustin's business partner, Grant. We'd known each other for years, couples dinners, holidays, the works. He was surprised I wanted to talk without Dustin there, but agreed to meet. Grant, I need your honesty. All of it. He squirmed in his seat. Of course, Isabel. What's going on? Did you know about Dustin and Tracy? His face dropped. Didn't even need words. He looked wrecked. I suspected he was sloppy sometimes. Long lunches when she just happened to be downtown. Leaving events early if she left first. I hoped I was wrong. And you never thought to tell me or Mike? He stared down at his coffee. It wasn't my place. I thought it would burn out. These things usually do. Well, now there's a baby, I said flatly. His head jerked up. The baby is his? Oh God, yes, and I need your help. Turned out Grant had his own reasons for hating Dustin. Apparently, my loving husband had spent years quietly stealing credit for Grant's work. Projects, clients, deals. Petty little betrayals that added up to one big grudge. And Grant? Oh, he had receipts. Emails, memos, meeting recordings, a gold mine. A week before the shower, I stopped by Tracy's mom's place. Sweet woman, always treated me like her own. She was glowing, buzzing about becoming a grandma. I'm so glad you and Tracy are still close, she beamed, showing me tiny baby clothes. Infertility can really drive a wedge between sisters. I just smiled and nodded, letting her believe that lie Tracy had spun, that I was grieving infertility, not betrayal. As I was leaving, I dropped one last little gem. Tracy's lucky it's a girl, I said casually. Isn't there a heart condition on Mike's side that affects boys? Her brow creased. What heart condition? There's no history of that in our family. Oh, weird. I must have misunderstood. I thought Dustin mentioned something about Mike's dad once. Maybe I got it mixed up. Another seed, carefully planted. 3 days out, I made one last stop, to Dr. Keene's office. I asked for a full copy of my medical records. No questions, she handed them over. Then I hit her with something unexpected. That diagnosis you gave me, any chance you were wrong? She blinked, confused. We ran the test twice, Isabel. I know how hard it was to hear. But could I have conceived before it developed? Like 6 months ago. And that's when I saw it click for her. She thought I was holding on, bargaining, desperate. It's extremely unlikely, she said gently, but not impossible. However, you'd know if you'd been pregnant. Right, I nodded, slipping the papers into my bag. Just covering all bases. On the drive home, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Calm. The kind of eerie calm you get right before a storm. Everything was ready, invitations sent, decor ordered, catering locked in, evidence lined up like dominoes. I had given them everything. My loyalty, my love, my future. And they threw it away like garbage. Now, it was their turn to lose. The night before the shower, Dustin made one last attempt at damage control. He knocked on my door like a kid begging to be let back into the treehouse. "I know I can't fix this," he said, voice shaky, "but I need you to know how sorry I am." I stared at him, really looked at him for the first time in weeks. This was the man I had once trusted with everything. My heart, my life, my dream of a family. "I know you're sorry," I said quietly. "And tomorrow, so will everyone else." He didn't get it. Thought I was hinting at a scene. A dramatic little meltdown during cake and gifts. Something loud and messy and forgettable. He had no idea what was coming. He had no clue. None of them did. The morning of the baby shower arrived, bright and breezy, perfect weather for ruining lives. I got up early and set everything up like I was hosting a damn Pinterest fantasy. Pink and gold balloons, a pristine gift table, a gorgeous cake that read, "Welcome, baby girl," in the looping, elegant script. It was flawless, picture perfect. The calm before the storm. Dustin hovered at the edge of the room, jittery, watching me like I expected me to break, cry, scream, flip a table. Instead, I smiled sweetly and said, "Why don't you make yourself scarce today? It's a ladies-only thing. Go hit some golf balls with Mike or something. He probably needs the distraction." The relief on his face was pathetic, like he thought I was giving him a pass, like he thought today was gonna go smoothly. By noon, the house looked like something out of a lifestyle magazine. By 1, the catering was in place. By 2, guests started pouring in. Friends, cousins, coworkers, all of them smiling, carrying neatly wrapped gifts, ready to celebrate new life. And then Tracy arrived. She came in glowing, dressed in pale pink like she was royalty. Her hands were glued to that swollen 7-month bump like it was her golden ticket. Her mom and mine flanked her, fussing, glowing. Tracy leaned in and whispered, "Thank you so much," like I'd just hosted her bridal shower or some other milestone she didn't deserve. I hugged her back and whispered into her ear, "You're welcome. I made this day very special." And for about an hour, everything went according to plan. We played ridiculous games with melted candy bars in diapers, ate crustless cucumber sandwiches and overpriced fruit tarts, watched Tracy unwrap box after box of pastel onesies and bottle sterilizers, while everyone cooed like this wasn't a ticking bomb. Then came the moment I'd been building toward. I stood at the front of the room, champagne flute in hand, smiling like I was about to deliver a Hallmark speech. "Before we cut the cake," I said, "I'd like to make a toast and share something personal." 30 heads turned toward me, full of warmth and curiosity.
When Tracy asked me to host this baby shower, I was overwhelmed with emotion. More nods, more sympathetic smiles. This past year has been tough for me. As many of you know, I found out I can't have children, and it's been devastating. I saw Tracy flinch, just a little. Her face paled for a split second, and that's when I knew she felt it coming. She knew exactly what I couldn't have, what my body wouldn't give me, and she took it anyway.
Took what wasn't hers to take. But today wasn't about me. At least, not yet. This isn't about my journey, I said, still holding my champagne flute high. It's about celebrating new life, new beginnings. I turned to Tracy and smiled like a proud big sister. To Tracy and her beautiful baby girl. The room raised their glasses. Everyone sipped, everyone relaxed. They thought the awkward part was over. I took a step back and added, almost too casually, and what better way to celebrate than with a little entertainment? I put together something special. Click. The living room TV lit up. A slideshow began. At first, it was sweet. Photos of Tracy throughout her pregnancy, family holiday snapshots, laughing faces, nostalgic moments. Everyone smiled. Then, it shifted. Suddenly, the screen was filled with screenshots, text messages, explicit, undeniable, dated. A breadcrumb trail of betrayal going back years. Gasps echoed around the room. Tracy dropped her drink. Glass shattered across the hardwood. Red punch spreading like blood. "Isabel, turn it off!" she shrieked. I didn't. I kept my voice steady, calm, almost pleasant. "As you can see," I said, "my husband and my sister-in-law have been having an affair for quite a while, way before we even knew about the fertility issues." Click. More slides. Hotel confirmations, receipts, timestamps. Their little operation had been incredibly organized. The room went from shocked silence to horrified murmuring. Tracy's mother was frozen, hand over her mouth. My mother-in-law was shaking her head like she could just deny it into not existing. But I wasn't done. "And here's the interesting part," I said, clicking again. This time, medical records appeared on screen. Highlighted. Annotated. "That baby Tracy's carrying," I said, "not actually my husband's." That cracked the room wide open. Tracy stood up, trembling. "What are you talking about? Of course it's—" She stopped, mid-sentence, realizing exactly what she was about to admit. "It's what, Tracy?" I said, tilting my head. "Your husband's baby or my husband's? Let's get our parentage straight." Click. Up popped a DNA test, official looking, covered in percentages and scientific jargon. Fake, of course, just another piece in my little stage play. But no one in that room knew that. "That's a lie, Tracy!" she screamed. "That's not possible!" "Is it?" I asked coolly. "You've been sleeping with at least 2 men. Are you sure there wasn't a third? Your yoga instructor, maybe? The one you've been doing private sessions with 3 times a week?" It was a shot in the dark, a gamble. But the way her face drained of color? Bullseye. In the end, Dustin lost everything. His share of the company, gone. His family's respect, burned to the ground. The cushy future he'd been building behind everyone's back, dead in the water. And Tracy, she didn't exactly walk away clean either. Once Dustin realized the baby wasn't his, he cut her loose without looking back. Her family turned their backs too. Couldn't stomach the scandal, the shame, the mess. Last I heard, she crawled back to her hometown, living with her grandmother, answering phones at a clinic, raising that little girl solo. Mike and I, we stayed friends through all of it. There's something about surviving nuclear-level betrayal together. It ties you to a person in ways nothing else can. He's dating again now. Someone good. Someone who sees him, really sees him, for who he is, not what he can give. As for me, I kept the house, then gutted it, painted over every memory, scrubbed every trace of Dustin out of the walls, reclaimed my space like it was sacred ground, and I started over. I took the connections I built while being the CEO's wife and flipped them into my own consulting business. Turns out, I've got a killer instinct for strategy. Who would have guessed? 6 months ago, I got a call. A young mother couldn't keep her baby. A little boy, tiny, perfect, needed a home. It wasn't how I thought I'd become a mother, but standing there in his nursery, watching him breathe softly in his crib, it hit me. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. About a year after everything went to hell, Dustin reached out. Said he wanted to talk. Said he missed me. Said he'd made the worst mistake of his life. I didn't reply. Some betrayals are final. Some scars don't fade. And some people, they don't get a second chance to bleed you again. Now, when my son wakes up in the morning, stretching those tiny fists in the soft light, I scoop him up, breathe in that sweet baby scent, and feel a peace I never thought I'd earn back. The thing about betrayal is, it shows you exactly who people are. Not just the ones who hurt you, but the ones who stay. The ones who sit with you in the dark. The ones who show up with cheap wine and greasy pizza on nights when you think silence might swallow you whole. I found out who my real family is. And surprise, it wasn't the one I married into. Sometimes I replay that day in my head. In the end, Dustin lost everything. His share of the company, gone. His family's respect, burned to the ground. The cushy future he'd been building behind everyone's back, dead in the water. And Tracy, she didn't exactly walk away clean either. Once Dustin realized the baby wasn't his, he cut her loose without looking back. Her family turned their backs too. Couldn't stomach the scandal, the shame, the mess. Last I heard, she crawled back to her hometown, living with her grandmother, answering phones at a clinic, raising that little girl solo. Mike and I, we stayed friends through all of it. There's something about surviving nuclear-level betrayal together. It ties you to a person in ways nothing else can. He's dating again now. Someone good. Someone who sees him, really sees him, for who he is, not what he can give. As for me, I kept the house, then gutted it. Painted over every memory, scrubbed every trace of Dustin out of the walls, reclaimed my space like it was sacred ground. And I started over. I took the connections I built while being the CEO's wife and flipped them into my own consulting business. Turns out, I've got a killer instinct for strategy. Who would have guessed? 6 months ago, I got a call. A young mother couldn't keep her baby. A little boy. Tiny. Perfect. Needed a home. It wasn't how I thought I'd become a mother, but standing there in his nursery, watching him breathe softly in his crib, it hit me. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. About a year after everything went to hell, Dustin reached out, said he wanted to talk, said he missed me, said he'd made the worst mistake of his life. I didn't reply. Some betrayals are final. Some scars don't fade. And some people, they don't get a second chance to bleed you again. Now, when my son wakes up in the morning, stretching does tiny fists in the soft light, I scoop him up, breathe in that sweet baby scent, and feel a peace I never thought I'd earn back. The thing about betrayal is, it shows you exactly who people are. Not just the ones who hurt you, but the ones who stay. The ones who sit with you in the dark. The ones who show up with cheap wine and greasy pizza on nights when you think silence might swallow you whole. I found out who my real family is. And surprise, it wasn't the one I married into. Sometimes I replay that day in my head,